Customers who tried to scam you but failed in a hilariously pathetic way, stories please. So, I used to work at a big grocery store deli, right? And if you've ever worked deli, you know the rotisserie chicken customers are the worst breed of humanity when it comes to scams. This one dude comes in, sweaty, loud, pacing like a cartoon villain practicing a monologue. He slams an empty rotisserie chicken container on the counter so hard it popped back open like it was gasping for air. He goes, "This chicken was raw in the middle." I look at the container. There's literally nothing in it except a smear of grease and a piece of skin the size of a fingernail. I swear even that skin looked ashamed to be there. I say, "Sir, there's nothing left." He snaps back, "I ate a few bites before realizing it was raw." Few bites. The man ate an entire bird down to the skeletal ghost of it. I ask if he brought the receipt. He stares at me like I asked him for his social security number and firstborn. Why would I keep a receipt for poison? Okay, genius. I tell him we can't refund without the product or receipt, and he suddenly gets theatrical like Shakespeare in the middle of Walmart, starts clutching his stomach, groaning, "Oh no, I'm feeling the salmonella hitting McCall 911. I tell him completely deadpan, "If you're having a medical emergency, I can definitely call 911 and let them know you consumed an entire chicken before noticing it was raw." He freezes like mid-dramatic pose, slowly straightens up, then says, What if we just do store credit?" I say no. Man walks out totally fine, munching on a bag of chips he hadn't paid for. Loss prevention stops him immediately. Dude tries to claim the chips were medical necessity because he needed salt to offset the raw chicken toxins. They banned him for a year. Still the funniest scam attempt I've ever seen. I worked the register at a clothing store, and we had this old promo where you could stack coupons, but only on clearance. People hated that rule like it was a personal attack. This woman comes in, arms full of new season clothes that aren't even close to clearance, and tries to use a 30% off plus 20% off plus free item coupon. I tell her she can't stack them on new items. She gasps like I just told her her dog died. Then she says the most magical words ever, "Watch me." She lays herself down next to the register like right on the floor and begins fake convulsing. This lady literally starts shaking like a fish flopping around on a dock, peeking every few seconds to see if I'm watching. I'm just standing there like, "Ma'am." A manager comes over, kneels down, asks if she needs help. She stops mid-fake seizure to yell, "Only if you let me use my coupons." Manager goes, "We can call an ambulance." She immediately stops trembling. "No, I'm fine." She stands up, dusts herself off, fixes her hair like she just performed on Broadway and says, "Can I still get the discount?" We say no. She storms out, then immediately walks back in because she left her purse on the floor. I've never seen someone lose a performance award so fast. At a phone store, one dude tried to return a cracked phone he definitely dropped himself. He comes in yelling, "This phone arrived broken." The box was torn open like a raccoon got to it, and the phone looked like it had survived a fall off a skyscraper. We told him accidental damage isn't returnable. He storms out. 10 minutes later, he walks back in wearing different clothes. Same guy, same voice, same crack in the phone. He says, "Hi, yeah, I'm the twin brother of the guy who bought this earlier. He told me to return it for him." I swear the entire staff stopped and stared at him like he had just teleported. I say, "Your twin brother?" He nods aggressively, like nodding will make DNA change. Our manager goes, "Okay, can I see your ID?" He says, "Oh, sorry, we're identical twins, so we share an ID." Bro. I actually laughed out loud. Couldn't help it. We refused. He left muttering, "This place is going to get sued." He then immediately gets into the same car he arrived in. We watched him drive off, arguing with someone who wasn't even in the passenger seat. I guess his twin was imaginary too. I used to work at Costco, and to this day, I swear the wildest scam attempt I ever witnessed was committed by a woman I will forever refer to as the coupon goblin. She wasn't even a regular customer, she was more like a seasonal cryptid. She appeared maybe once every 3 months pushing a completely overloaded cart, wearing a huge sun hat and sunglasses like she was in witness protection, and always talking way too loudly about my rights as a loyal Costco supporter, even though none of us had ever actually seen her before. Her scam attempt began, like most catastrophes, quietly. She rolled up to my register with a cart that looked like it was designed by someone trying to flee civilization. 4 rotisserie chickens, 16 pounds of frozen blueberries, 3 different air fryers, 2 weighted blankets, a kayak, and a giant stuffed bear that barely fit through the aisle, and she had the binder. Thick as a Bible, stuffed with plastic sheet protectors, all full of coupons. Expired coupons, torn coupons, homemade coupons, coupons printed in Comic Sans coupons for stores that didn't even exist anymore. She slammed the binder onto the conveyor belt like it was a spell book and said, "I'll be redeeming all of these today." I told her Costco doesn't accept manufacturer coupons, ever, period. There's literally a sign the size of a toddler above the registers that says exactly that. She dramatically gasped like a Victorian widow and said, "Well, I always do it every time I come here." Lady, you come here less often than Halley's Comet. She started flipping through the binder, pulling out random coupons like she was dealing tarot cards charged with chaotic energy. She handed me a 10% off Bed Bath & Beyond coupon with the expiration date, January 2009. Then she pulled out one for Blockbuster. Then a Toys R Us one with a faded barcode that looked like it had been printed during the Cold War. I told her again that we don't accept coupons. She stared at me, leaned in slowly, and whispered, "They always do it for me." Then she winked like we were in on some grand heist together. I repeated myself. She repeated herself. We were in an infinite coupon loop. Finally, she realized I wasn't budging, so she escalated. She asked for a manager, but in that specific, self-righteous tone that means I'm about to embarrass myself in public. Prepare accordingly. My manager, tired in the way only retail managers can be tired, came over and calmly said, "Ma'am, Costco does not accept coupons of any kind. None, zero, not even ours. We literally do not have a system to scan them." This is where the coupon goblin ascended. She screamed, "So you're telling me these are useless?" and dramatically flung the entire binder upward like confetti cannon. Coupons exploded everywhere. The air was full of expired paper deals fluttering to the ground like sad, poorly cut snowflakes. Customers stared. A kid grabbed one out of the air and yelled, "Mom, Blockbuster!" She pointed at me, shaking with fury, and yelled, "This employee is sabotaging my savings." I hadn't done anything except breathe. She then said she would be contacting corporate and the Supreme Court because fraud is fraud. But her downfall came from the most unexpected place, the kayak. She insisted she should get 50% off the kayak because she had a printed sheet that said 50% off any water equipment limit 1. The paper looked like it was printed from Microsoft Word using clip art from 1997. My manager squinted and said, "Ma'am, this is from Kmart." She yelled, "Well, water is water and stores are stores." At this point, security started drifting toward us like retail guardian angels. The goblin sensed her rein slipping, so she tried one last move. "Fine. Then I want to return everything so you lose money." And she shoved the cart at me. Except she had never actually purchased anything yet. I said, "Ma'am, these items are still in your cart." She froze, absolutely still. Her brain briefly disconnected from the Wi-Fi. Then she shouted, "This store is a scam," and attempted to push her cart full of unpaid merchandise straight toward the exit. The greeter, an elderly man named Carl, who moved slowly but with purpose, simply planted himself in front of the door like a final boss NPC. She rammed the cart into him at like one impulse, which did nothing except annoy him. Security escorted her out while she screamed about suing every employee individually. And the best part, as she left, coupons were still falling out of her ridiculous hat onto the floor like breadcrumbs. We swept up expired Bed Bath & Beyond coupons for weeks. And yes, she came back 3 months later with a new binder. And her first words at the register were, "I hope you aren't here to harass me again." Retail is incredible. And her first words at the register were, "I hope you aren't here to harass me again." Retail is incredible. I used to work at a big box electronics store where 70% of the customers were normal, 20% were mildly confused, and the remaining 10% were walking, talking chaos engines in cargo shorts. This story is about one of those chaos engines. We called him Receipt Time Traveler Guy, and you'll understand why in a second. He walked in one slow Tuesday afternoon holding a VHS camcorder that had definitely lived a full, traumatic life. I'm talking duct tape on the side, lens cracked like a spider web, and a smell like it had been stored in a damp basement since the Clinton administration. He put it on the counter with the confidence of a man returning an unopened iPhone. The first words out of his mouth were, "I'd like a full refund. It stopped working last week." Already I had questions, mainly, "Sir, do you know what century we're in?" But I kept my customer service smile. Instead I asked, "Do you have the receipt?" He nodded like this was the moment he'd been waiting for, with theatrical flair. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a receipt so yellowed it looked like it had survived a house fire. And here's the best part. It was dated 1997. 3 managers were born after that purchase. Our entire computer system wasn't even invented yet, and the store address printed on it wasn't even our current building. We'd moved locations in 2009. I gently explained, "Sir, this receipt is 28 years old." He corrected me. "Actually, 27 and a half if you count from the month printed there." This, as if that was the thing that would sway me, I told him our return policy was 30 days, and even with extended holiday returns, it did not stretch into multiple decades. He insisted the device had never worked right from day one, and he'd been meaning to bring it back. For 27 years, I thought that was the end, but oh no, Receipt Time Traveler Guy was just getting warmed up. He leaned in and whispered conspiratorially, "Legally, you have to honor a receipt if I still have it." I said, "Sir, no law in the universe works like that." He demanded to see the store manager, then the regional manager, then the corporate board, as if I had them sitting in the back room playing Uno. When I calmly said none of those people were magically available on a Tuesday, he announced he'd call corporate himself. He stepped aside, pulled out his flip phone. Yes, a flip phone, and yelled into it, "I want to speak to the CEO." He wasn't even talking to a human. He called the store's automated customer service line. He screamed at a robot for 8 solid minutes. I had to step into the back because I was about to cry laugh into my uniform. Finally defeated by the robot, he returned to the counter and decided to pivot strategies. He said, "Okay, then I'd like store credit." I repeated the 1997 issue. He said, "I don't see why that matters." At this point, my manager stepped in mostly to stop me from losing my grip on sanity. The manager politely repeated everything I had said. Receipt Guy responded by tapping the camcorder like it was a magical object and saying, "This is practically new." It wasn't a piece of duct tape fell off while he said that. When the final no was delivered, he dramatically scooped up the camcorder, muttered, "This is why the economy is collapsing," and stormed out only to immediately walk back in because he'd forgotten his ancient receipt on the counter. He snatched it up like it was a sacred scroll and declared, "This isn't over." It absolutely was. My manager and I laughed so hard afterward that we had to pretend we were doing inventory in the back for 20 minutes. To this day, whenever something ridiculous happens, someone at that store will whisper, "Check the date on the receipt," because nothing will ever top the man who tried to return a camcorder older than half the staff and expected us to treat it like a Costco rotisserie chicken bought yesterday. I used to work at a small electronics shop in a strip mall, the kind of place that sold refurbished laptops and weird off-brand Bluetooth speakers that probably came from a warehouse older than the building itself. One afternoon, this guy walks in with the most suspicious energy I've ever seen. He had that "I'm about to lie, but I also haven't rehearsed anything" look in his eyes. He slams a completely shattered laptop on the counter and goes, "Yeah, this broke on its own because of your faulty parts, and I demand a full refund." Now, our store had a very simple policy. Every device gets a tiny sticker on the hinge with the date, serial number, and the initials of the tech who repaired it. It's ugly, but impossible to fake. So I flip open the laptop, check the hinge, and there's no sticker. Already suspicious. Then I check the serial number in our system. Nothing. Not even close. The guy starts sweating and goes, "Well, maybe you forgot to log it in." We never forgot. If we forgot, we literally got our hours cut. I start asking the basic questions. "When did you buy it?" 2 weeks ago." "We haven't sold this model in 3 years." "That's what you think." He then tries to claim that I personally sold it to him. I had never seen this man in my life, and I told him so. Then he says, dead serious, "Well, maybe you sold it to me in your sleep." Bro, that was his argument. At this point, the manager comes out, looks at the laptop, laughs so hard he wheezes and flips it over. Someone had literally scratched off the manufacturer's name with a screwdriver. The guy tries to grab it, trips on the mat, falls backwards into a rack of $10 headphones, and knocks them all over himself like a low-budget Home Alone stunt. The best part? As he's scrambling out the door, he yells, "This isn't over!" It was very, very over. I worked at a grocery store where returns were usually boring, wrong flavor, wrong size, wrong expectations of how fruit works. But this lady, she tried something new. She comes in with a bag of rotten strawberries and says, "I bought these yesterday, and they were spoiled when I got home." Easy enough happens. But when I scan the barcode, the system says the strawberries were packed 4 months ago, and our store literally did not exist 4 months ago. We just opened 3 months earlier. I pointed out gently. She goes, "Well, maybe they were in your system before you opened." I explain that it's impossible. She says, "You don't know how grocery stores work, ma'am." She then tries to escalate to the manager, who confirms everything I just said. She gets flustered, digs through her purse, and pulls out a receipt, except it's for a completely different store in a completely different state from 2 years ago for a jar of olives. She slaps it down confidently like it's an Uno reverse card. My manager, who has the patience of a monk and the facial expressions of a disappointed sitcom dad, goes, "This is olives." She goes, "Yes, and." He goes, "Strawberries are not olives." She pauses. Her face does this buffering animation. She snatches the olives receipt, storms out, and on her way out yells, "Well, you just lost a customer." We cheered. We gained 3 new customers who watched the whole thing and said, "Wow, I love this place already." I worked at a shipping store. One day a man comes in claiming we lost the brand new iPhone he shipped to his cousin. He's yelling, red-faced, waving tracking papers around. Says the box arrived empty and that we must have stolen the phone. Corporate theft, insurance fraud, etc. He loudly demands a payout. We pull the security footage. This man shipped an empty box. Literally empty. He never put anything inside. The footage clearly shows him opening the box, pretending to place something in it. A very dramatic mime performance. Then sealing it up. We show him the footage. He stares at it silently. Then he says, "That's not me. Sir, you are wearing the same shirt and the same hat and the same watch, and you have a tattoo on your forearm that we can see in the video." He tries switching strategies. "Maybe your cameras are broken." My manager, with no hesitation, goes, "The cameras aren't broken. You are." The guy left so fast he almost left skid marks. When I worked fast food, this teenage boy came in demanding a refund because "you shorted me 10 nuggets." He slams a 20-piece box on the counter with only 2 nuggets inside. He says he got home, opened it, and boom, where the hell were his nuggets? Except the box was greasy on the wrong side. The lid had fingerprints all around it, and the nuggets looked like they had teeth marks. He claimed those were manufacturing dents. Dude, one nugget had a perfect semicircle bite taken out of it like a cartoon. My manager asks for his receipt. He hands over a receipt for 1 small fry. That's it, no nuggets. We point that out and he goes, "Well, maybe your system malfunctioned." Sure. Yes. The system spontaneously deleted chicken nuggets. That's what computers do. When we wouldn't give him a refund, he tried to snatch the 2 half-eaten nuggets back as evidence missed, and smacked his hand on the counter so hard his phone flew out of his pocket. He stormed off yelling, "I hope you get salmonella, sir. You ate the suspicious nuggets." This one still feels unreal. I worked at a toy store. This man comes in claiming we overcharged him for a $40 remote-controlled car. Says he was charged twice and wants a refund. Cool. Easy fix. I ask for the card he used. He hands me a debit card with a woman's name on it. I ask, "Is this your card?" He goes, "Yes." His 4-year-old son, standing next to him like a tiny narc, says, "Daddy, that's mommy's card." The man freezes like a Windows XP error message. He says, "Well, obviously, the store put her name on my card by accident." The kid goes, "No, it didn't." Customer, "Yes, it did." Kid, "No, it didn't. Mommy said you're not allowed to use her card anymore." I have never seen a grown man sweat so hard. He tries to salvage the scam, but now the kid is fully committed to ruining him. He tells us, unprompted, that his dad took mommy's purse when she was in the shower, and that he bought a pizza too and told mommy it was free. The man snatches the card, grabs the kid like a football, and sprints out of the store. My coworker just whispers, "That kid is gonna grow up to be a cop."